So what are the premium positions in the NFL? If you're like me, I was like, keep hearing this thrown around. I think I have a general idea of what premium positions are in the NFL, but what exactly are there? Well, there's 5. Quarterback, pass rusher, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and cornerback. You can see where we're going already with this. So we'll start at quarterback. We do not have a quarterback. It's a premium position in the NFL. We do not have one. Daniel Jones was not the answer. Drew Lock is not the answer. Tommy DeVito is not the answer. We could have had Russell Wilson last year. We can even get Russell Wilson this year. Of course, we would have to pay way, way more than we would have had to pay heading into this season, right? Russell Wilson now has a 104.3 QB rating, a 57.1 QBR, which is average. His 104.3 QB rating is above average, one of the top in the league. Again, the difference between QB rating and QBR, I need to look into that probably. He has an overall PFF grade of 78.4, which is 15th out of 66 quarterbacks. And his market value is 2 years, $80 million, which would be 14th amongst quarterbacks. So it's like right around the league average is what you'd have to pay for Russell Wilson now. You could have paid like $1 million for Russell Wilson before this season. Sam Darnold has a 102.5 QB rating, which is above average, one of the best in the league, but a 55.5 QBR, which is average. His overall PFF grade is 83.2, which is 9th out of 66 quarterbacks. And his market value is just going up and up and up. 4 years, $137.5 million with an average salary of $34 million a year. It's similar to what Geno Smith got with the Seahawks, Baker Mayfield got with the Bucks, what Daniel got with the Giants, and what Derek Carr got with the Saints. Jameis Winston, who last year would have been $5.5 million to bring on, has an 88.4 QB rating, which is a little bit below average, but a 70.2 QBR, which is 6th in the league. I don't have a market value on him, but I assume you'd have to pay more than $5.5 million for him. Joe Flacco is earning $4.5 million. That's another guy you could have brought in. Justin Fields has an overall PFF grade of 71, which is 33rd out of 66 QBs. His market value is 1 year, $9 million. I don't hate that. Andy Dalton is earning $5 million with the Panthers. I saw some people throwing around his name as a potential veteran quarterback that you could sign that would be much, much, much cheaper than a Sam Darnold or a Russell Wilson. This is not a free agent, not yet, but Jake Browning with the Bengals. He looked okay backing up Joe Burrow. When Burrow went down with the injury, he came in and played well. He'll be a RFA, restricted free agent, in 2026. Would you trade for Jake Browning this offseason? Don't know that the Bengals will be willing to part with him, but something to think about. So that's the first premium position, quarterback. We don't have one. What has Joe Schoen done to address this premium position? He extends Daniel Jones. That is a poor decision in retrospect. He doesn't pick up the 5th-year option of Daniel Jones. He doesn't franchise tag Daniel Jones. Instead, he extends him. That doesn't work out. He signs Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor performs admirably, does somewhat well, decent in DJ's absence last season. Previous season didn't see much time, but got hurt. The previous season got hurt in 2023, so there's an injury history there. He's a little bit on the older side. Lets him walk. He got like $10-some million from the Jets, and in all honesty, I don't know why the Jets have now been eliminated from playoff contention. They should be playing Tyrod Taylor. Anyway, lets Tyrod Taylor walk. Okay, but then he signs Drew Lock for $5 million. Drew Lock blows. Tommy DeVito, undrafted free agent, hasn't done much. So QB position has not addressed it. Pass rusher is another premium position. He did pull the blockbuster trade for Brian Burns. Brian Burns is 30th in sacks with, I think he has 7 now. 21st in tackles for loss, and his pass rush grade is 78.7, which is 16th out of 200 edges. Again, feels like Brian Burns is being paid to be a top 5 edge, a top 10 edge, and he's not. So even though he's playing well, he's not playing up to his contract. Again, not many people do. Azeez Ojulari, 40th in sacks, 57th in tackles for loss, with a pass rush grade of 54.6, which is 144th out of 200 edges. So again, Azeez Ojulari, probably not your starting edge, probably a supplemental pass rusher on 3rd and longs. I think that's where I see him if he does continue to play for the Giants, which I hope we do re-sign him, just not for a lot of money, and so we can bring him down on passing situations and apply the extra pressure. And then Kayvon Thibodeau, 190th in sacks. Now, he did miss a handful of games, right? He's been absent since the Seahawks game. He came back against the Buccaneers, so he missed a handful of games. 190th in sacks, 153rd in tackles for loss, and his pass rush grade is 69.1, which is 43rd out of 200 edges. So premium pick, number 5th overall in the 2022 draft, and he is not living up to his draft status. Not necessarily a bust, just not the elite pass rusher we were hoping for. And then your final pass rusher is Dexter Lawrence, which, he's now missed. He missed this game, but he was 9th in sacks, 38th in tackles for loss, all-pro, Pro Bowler. So that is your only pass rusher, and he's an interior defensive lineman who typically don't get a lot of pressure or are known for, getting sacks and whatnot. So you needed Brian Burns to play better. You needed Kayvon Thibodeau to play better, and they haven't. Are they playing poorly? Are they playing bad? No, but they're playing below what you need from them. So has he really addressed the pass rusher premium position? Questionable. Incomplete, I would say. If Burns and Thibodeau continue to play at this level, which is kind of like average, a little bit above average, I'd say no, you haven't. But you look at amongst the 5 premium positions, I think pass rusher is the one that he has succeeded on the most. Pass rusher is close to what he's done with the next 2 premium positions, which are offensive tackle and wide receiver 1. We'll start with offensive tackle. Andrew Thomas, you extended. Great, grand, wonderful. Injury history. You cannot rely on him to be your left tackle anymore. That's just the stance that I'm taking. I know that Andrew Thomas, when he's healthy, is an all-pro, Pro Bowler. I get it. But you can no longer depend on him to be your starting left tackle. You can't. In my crystal ball, if I summon the gods, football gods, and I look into the future, I see Andrew Thomas moving to right tackle. And I think you need to draft a stud tackle or at least sign a tackle in free agency until you can draft the stud tackle to be your left tackle. And you have Jermaine Illuminor. Evan Neal, ain't it, boss. He's not a tackle. He looks so bad against the Saints, and it's because he hurt his ankle again. He tweaked his right ankle. He had a hip thing going on. So I know Brian Baldinger from Baldy's Breakdowns he was going to post a clip on Twitter about breaking down Evan Neal, and he said he didn't because he thinks that there might be an injury there. Evan Neal looks shitty against the Cowboys. He played well against the Panthers, looked shitty against the Cowboys, looked shitty against the Saints. So Evan Neal should not be part of your plans at tackle moving forward. And if he is, that's not the plan. You're getting it wrong. He should be moved to guard. Jermaine Illuminor should be moved to guard, right? And you're saying, well, how does that work? Okay. Evan Neal, backup guard. Jermaine Illuminor, starting right guard. GVR was signed to a 1-year deal. I think he's going to be a free agent. I don't think you're going to re-sign him unless you re-sign him to be your starting center, and then John Michael Schmitz is your backup center. And this is what I'm getting at. I think you have guys that are starting that could be really quality, high-grade, top-notch backup linemen. Now, you are paying them a lot of money, so that's the tough part of this, and I think that's why it's not going to happen. But if you feel like GVR gives you better output and production at center than John Michael Schmitz, you demote JMS. You say, you live and you learn, bro. Just take some notes from GVR. Resign GVR, put him at center. Runyon remains at left tackle. But then you have Jermaine Illuminor starting at right guard. Eventually have Andrew Thomas starting at right tackle. But until you find that guy to be your left tackle, he's at left tackle. And then you need someone at right tackle. And it's not Evan Neal, and it shouldn't be Jermaine Illuminor. The other option is you continue to start Jermaine or Illuminor at right tackle, and then you got to find another right guard if you don't sign GVR. Anyway, premium position. And look at who we're dealing with. Hubbard, Tyree Phillips, Evan Neal, Josh Azudu. None of those guys are your answer on offensive tackle. None of them. So that has to be a huge priority in the offseason. Premium position hasn't addressed it. Hasn't made it better. Wide receiver is the other premium position that you could say Joe Schoen has done a somewhat better job of than he has at least at quarterback. Malik Neighbors, you draft him. Who knows how long he'll stick around. Darius Slayton is a guy that has been absolutely fucked over by this regime. I'm for re-signing him. I know he only has an overall PFF grade of 62.6, which is 73rd out of 98 wide receivers, but those numbers do not tell the full story. Those numbers are not showing you how Brian Dable is completely fucking over Darius Slayton and how the quarterback play has ruined this guy. The play calling, along with the play execution, have really screwed over Darius Slayton in my mind. Want to know how I know? His market value is 2 years, $34.8 million, which is $17 million a year. 27th. You want to talk about double take? No, let's talk triple take. I literally could not believe what I was looking at when I saw that. 2 years, $17 million a year. These are contracts that are akin to Calvin Ridley's 4-year, $92 million contract, T. Higgins' 1 year, $21 million contract, Terry McLaurin's 3-year, $68 million contract, and Michael Pittman Jr.'s 3-year, $70 million contract. So is Darius Slayton, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, or Terry McLaurin, or even Michael Pittman? No. I don't think so. But holy shit. You look at like what Darius Slayton has done compared to the other receivers that I just mentioned in their contract year. You know, he has lower reception. Everything's lower except maybe his rating. And his rating is only a little bit higher because of Calvin Ridley, who was, suspended and all that shit. He's about 22 to 25% lower across the board in terms of averages when compared to those other guys in their contract years. But he's not going to get, the average salaries for those guys are 23, 21, 22, 23. So what's 22, 25% lower than 22? 17. So that's how you get to that number. The Giants there's no way I would see Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll giving this guy that contract after they've been asking him to take a pay cut. So I would love to have Darius Slayton be a lifelong Giant. I love him a lot. I think he's great. I know he has some infuriating drops here and there, but his speed, his personality, I love him. Would I pay $17 million a year for him? Only if we had a new coach. Only. If you obviously if Daboll and Schoen are retained for year 4, I don't think they keep Slayton. I think, your next GM or head coach, that's in the interview process, that should be one of the main questions is, what do you think of Darius Slayton? What do you think? Huh? So I'd love to have him back. That's pretty lofty price tag considering his production dropped off, but I don't blame him for that. I blame Daboll. And then you have Wan'Dale Robinson with overall grade of 60.2, 82nd out of 98 wide receivers. Wide receiver, yet again, needs to be addressed. You have your wide receiver 1. You most likely do not have a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver number 3. I believe that new GM head coach comes in and says, Wan'Dale, you traded. Jalen Hyatt, you traded. And we're going to get like a 7th rounder or 6th rounder. At best, a 5th rounder. But you know what? We'll turn that around, package it in some other deal to move up in a draft and get someone better. Because Wan'Dale Robinson ain't in it, and as much as I thought Jalen Hyatt could be a guy that could really open up this offense, Daboll, it's a combination of him not making the most of his opportunities and Daboll just having zero trust in him. So wide receiver, huge glaring need. Wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Free agency class, I tend to look towards the younger guys. I like signing somewhat younger free agents who are coming off the rookie contract. You have Elijah Moore from the Browns, who is 25. He has an overall PFF grade of 60.1. You have Tutu Atwell, who's 25, overall grade of 75.2, 28th out of 98 wide receivers, but he is on the smaller side. I think he's like 5'9", which I'm not a huge, if you're going to move on from Wan'Dale, then you bring in another Wan'Dale. I don't like that. And then Joshua Palmer's 25. Overall grade is 66.6, which is 61st out of 98, but kind of on the bigger side, 6'2", 210. I kind of like that. More physicality. So that's the wide receiver position. And then the last of the premium positions is cornerback. You don't have a CB1. You barely have a CB2. Deonte Banks was, I think a lot of people were hoping he would turn into a CB1. He's not. He's currently a CB2, and who knows how the rest of his tenure plays out. I could see a new coach and GM coming in and being like, "You gone. We're trading you for something else." Drew Phillips, solid player, but he's a slot corner. Deonte Banks has a coverage grade of 50.4 this year, which is 169th out of 212 corners. Drew Phillips has a coverage grade of 79.4, which is 11th out of 212. So you got your slot corner. And I look in the free agency class, and I'm seeing a lot of top corners that are in like have been making around $14 million a year. The question for me is like Carlton Davis going to leave the Lions? Is like almost all the top free agent cornerbacks are with teams that are playoff teams, winning teams, where it's like you have the chance to win a Super Bowl, like now. Are you going to leave that to get more money with a shitty team that's rebuilding? So that's why I don't think we're going to get like a elite CB1 in free agency, but goddamn, you have got to get a solid, solidified, strong CB2. You have to. And then you have 2 CB2s, which is better than a CB2 and no CB1. Do you see my reasoning there? Like, let's get 2 CB2s until we can hopefully draft a CB1, which is what brings me back to the 2025 draft and having the number 1 pick. You could go that Shedeur Sanders draft swap, trade swap with the Raiders, a la the Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning trade. You could do that, and that is very enticing. Or you could just draft Travis Hunter. Colorado Buffs corner, can also play wide receiver. Ironically, I was against the Mets signing Shohei Ohtani for paying one person to do 2 jobs, and then he gets hurt and he can only do one of the jobs. But man, I kind of love the idea of drafting Travis Hunter first overall. You got a CB1-ish, and you have a wide receiver too. I don't know if he'll continue to do that in the NFL. It'd be kind of cool if he did, because we have not seen a two-way player in forever. But that is really intriguing. Really intriguing. So that's the premium position discussion and how Joe Schoen has been unsuccessful. He has failed for the most part in all 5 of those premium positions. You don't have an elite top pass rusher. Maybe you could give him the pass rusher. Maybe you can give him wide receiver. It's not a definitive yes. Like, pass rusher is more of a yes. Offensive tackle's a no. Wide receiver's a maybe, not a definitive yes. Corner's a fuck no. Quarterback's a fuck no. So he's not doing well with the premium positions.